My cousin laughed. No one will show up if you ever get married. She was right, because I didn't invite them. But they saw the pictures when her ex posted himself as my best man. I'm Lily, 27, female, and I still remember the exact way my cousin Hannah laughed when she said it. We were standing in my aunt's backyard, half tipsy off sangria at her 4th of July barbecue. She had her perfect life lined up like trophies on a shelf, fiancé, friend group, bridesmaids group chat buzzing nonstop, and I was the late bloomer. The one who just gotten out of a 4-year relationship that ended with me paying half the rent on an apartment I couldn't even keep. She was swirling her drink, giggling to one of her friends, and said, "No one will even show up if Lily ever gets married." Then she saw me standing behind her, eyes wide, and added with that fake little gasp, "Oh my God, I'm kidding. You know I love you." Everyone laughed, even my aunt. I smiled like it didn't sting, but it burned. Not because it was cruel, but because it was true in that moment. I didn't have a huge circle. My breakup had nuked most of my social life, and my family treated me like a spectator in their picture-perfect traditions. Hannah, 29, female, had always been that girl, loud, magnetic, a little cruel. We grew up like sisters, but she was the shiny one. I was the shadow. She was homecoming queen, college sorority president, the first to get engaged. She called me her backup maid of honor, which was supposed to be a joke. Her fiancé, Mark, 31, male, was different, quiet, kind, the kind of man who noticed when someone wasn't part of the conversation. When I'd visit family, he'd be the one asking how work was going or if I'd eaten yet. I thought he was just being polite, but later I realized he was seeing me in a way nobody else bothered to. When Hannah's wedding came around, I helped her plan half of it, drove her to dress fittings, taste-tested catering options. She never thanked me once. On her actual wedding day, she told me I could sit near the back, since her real friends were up front. I told myself I didn't care. I smiled through the photos, clapped during their first dance, and told her she looked beautiful. But something inside me cracked that night. Watching her slow dance to Can't Help Falling in Love, while Mark looked like a man trying to believe his own choices. That was the first time I felt it. That small, sharp thought I didn't dare say out loud. She doesn't deserve him. I didn't know then that someday he'd be standing next to me, not as a groom, but as my best man. I didn't see much of Hannah and Mark for about a year after the wedding. They moved into this newly built house in the suburbs that looked like it came straight out of a realtor's daydream. Gray siding, perfect lawn, ring camera on every corner. Her Instagram turned into a highlight reel of wine nights, brunches, and wife life posts. I watched it all from my one-bedroom apartment above a laundromat, eating instant noodles and editing freelance copy at 2 a.m. But I wasn't bitter, not at first. Just tired. Tired of pretending I didn't still feel small around her. Then one night, out of nowhere, Mark texted me. He said he'd found an old flash drive of wedding photos and thought I might want copies of the ones I was in. That was it. Simple, polite. But when I opened them, there was one picture that made me freeze. Me, mid-laugh, looking more alive than I remembered being. Mark had taken it. He'd captioned it, unposed, in the file name. We started talking more after that, just little things at first. He'd ask how freelancing was going. I'd ask about his new job in property management. Then it turned into longer messages about how lonely he felt, how Hannah had changed after the wedding. She always wanted an audience, he wrote once. Now that she has me, she's bored. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to defend her, to pretend marriage was just hard sometimes. But another part of me, the darker, quieter part, understood exactly what he meant. I told him I'd been struggling too, that I felt like I'd become invisible, that I sometimes went days without anyone saying my name out loud. It was innocent, or at least it was supposed to be. But texts turned into late-night calls, the kind that start with "just checking in" and end with silence that feels heavier than words. He never crossed a line, not yet, but he'd say things that sat in my chest for days, like, "You have a way of listening that makes me feel real again." Or, "Hannah doesn't laugh at my jokes anymore, but I can still make you laugh." I'd laugh, then hate myself for it. One night, I told him we should probably stop talking so much, that it didn't feel right. He said, "You're right, but I'll miss hearing your voice." And I knew I should block him right then. I didn't. Because some part of me, some buried, bruised part that still remembered Hannah's cruel little laugh, wanted him to miss me. That was the night something shifted. Not between us exactly, but inside me. I didn't know it yet, but it was the start of everything. A few weeks passed before I saw either of them again. I'd started avoiding Hannah's calls, half because of work, half because hearing her voice made me feel like I was doing something wrong, which, if I was being honest, I probably was. But guilt's a funny thing. It doesn't hit all at once. It seeps in through the cracks, slow and quiet, until you don't even realize how deep it's gotten. It started small. Hannah called me one afternoon and asked if I could help plan her spring refresh party, some weird hybrid of a brunch and influencer event for her home decor blog. She said she wanted family around to make it feel authentic, which really meant I need free labor. When I showed up, Mark was the one carrying trays out to the backyard. He gave me that same soft smile he always had, the one that made me forget where I was for a second. Hannah, meanwhile, was barking orders into her phone, half yelling at a florist about peonies. "You look nice," Mark said when I walked in, his eyes flicking to the new dress I'd bought. Cheap, but flattering. "Thanks," I said, trying to sound casual. We worked side by side for an hour, setting up tables and stringing fairy lights. The air between us was quiet but charged, like something neither of us was ready to admit existed. Then Hannah appeared, all bright smiles and chaos. "Lily, can you grab the extra glassware from the garage? Mark, help her. You know where it is." Of course she'd send him with me. The garage was cool and shadowed, smelling faintly of dust and motor oil. While I was stacking boxes, he crouched beside me and whispered, "You shouldn't look at me like that." I froze. "Like what?" He gave a small, sad smile. "Like you see me." I didn't answer. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it echo. Then Hannah's voice cut through from outside, sharp and impatient. "Mark, are you seriously still in there? What's taking so long?" He stepped back like he'd been caught doing something criminal. "Coming!" he yelled, grabbing the glasses. That night, after everyone left, I got a text from him. "Mark. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that." Me. "It's okay." Mark. "It's not." I didn't respond, but I stared at those 3 words until my phone went dark in my hand. A few days later, Hannah posted a photo of the party. She'd tagged everyone, her friends, the caterer, even the balloon vendor, but not me. The caption read, "Couldn't have done it without my amazing crew." No mention of me at all. And for some reason, that stung more than all the other little things ever had. It wasn't just that she didn't see me, it was that she refused to. That night, I opened my messages with Mark again. My finger hovered over the keyboard for a long time before I typed just one word. Me. "Hey." He replied instantly. That's how it really began. After that night, Mark and I started talking every day, not flirting exactly, but not innocent either. We talked about everything. His sleepless nights, my constant anxiety, his resentment toward Hannah's need to perform for the world, my exhaustion from being treated like a footnote. It wasn't romantic, not at first. It was recognition. But recognition turns dangerous fast when you've both been invisible too long. Sometimes he'd call me after Hannah had gone to bed. His voice would be quiet, like he was afraid to wake her. He'd tell me about how she'd scroll through her phone while he tried to talk, or how she'd film dinner instead of eating it. I'd listen, say the right things, tell him marriage was complicated. But the truth? I loved the sound of his voice when he said my name. It went on like that for months, a secret friendship wrapped in guilt. We never met alone, not once, but there was one weekend that changed everything. Hannah invited everyone to their annual summer bash, her words, not mine. Big pool party, catered food, matching towels embroidered with the Mitchells. She said it was a branding opportunity. I didn't want to go, but she guilted me into it. "Come on, Lil, you never get out. Don't be weird." When I arrived, she was already half drunk, floating on an inflatable flamingo while some guy filmed her for a reel. Mark was manning the grill, quiet as usual. He looked relieved when he saw me. Halfway through the night, Hannah made one of her trademark jokes, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Oh my God, Lily, you actually wore makeup. What's the occasion? Did a guy finally text you back?" People laughed. I smiled tight, but I could feel my face burning. Mark looked up from the grill and just stared at her. The silence afterward was brutal. Not funny, he said, voice low. She blinked, taken off guard. Relax, it's a joke. Yeah, maybe don't make her the punchline, he said, not looking at her this time. It went quiet after that. The whole backyard full of people suddenly pretending not to hear. Hannah got this sharp look, her public smile plastered on, but her eyes cold. She tossed her drink aside, climbed off the float, and stormed inside. When she came back, she was wearing that same bright smile, but something had shifted. She didn't speak to Mark for the rest of the night. Later, when I was leaving, she pulled me aside near the gate. You and Mark getting close? She asked, her voice sugary, almost sweet. I froze. What do you mean? She tilted her head, studying me. He talks about you a lot lately, says you listen. I think that's cute. Just don't mistake kindness for interest, okay? The way she said it, like she owned him, like she was warning me off property, made something harden in me. I nodded. Sure, Hannah. But as I walked to my car, my hands were shaking. Not from guilt this time, but from something sharper. Something that felt like clarity. That night, Mark texted me again. Mark. You okay? You left early. Me. She said something weird. Mark. About us? Me. Yeah. Mark. Then it's not just in my head. He called right after. I almost didn't answer. When I finally picked up, he just said quietly, I wish I'd met you first. And that was it. The line we couldn't uncross. I didn't know it then, but Hannah had already started watching. And when Hannah watches, she doesn't just see, she hunts. Update. Hey Reddit. Wow, I didn't expect this to blow up like it did. I've been reading the comments, and honestly, I don't know whether to laugh, cry, or throw my phone into traffic. Some of you called me a homewrecker. Others said I was emotionally manipulated. And a few of you, God bless you chaotic souls, said, girl, burn it all down. So, I guess I should tell you what actually happened. Because yeah, things blew up. It's been 3 weeks since the pool party. 3 weeks since Hannah's fake smile cracked in half. 3 weeks since Mark showed up at my door at 1 a.m., soaked from the rain, eyes wild, and said, I can't do this anymore. He didn't mean me. He meant her. Apparently that night, after everyone left, Hannah confronted him, screaming, crying, accusing. She'd seen his texts, or at least enough of them to know something was off. She found my name in his call log, scrolled through message previews, saw the I wish I'd met you first one. He said she threw his phone at the wall, literally shattered it. Then she accused him of cheating. He told her he wasn't, but that he also wasn't sure he loved her anymore. And that's when she lost it, like completely. She smashed a framed wedding photo over the counter, cut her hand on the glass, and told him if he left her, she'd ruin both of us. Said she'd make me look like some desperate cousin who can't keep her legs shut. He tried to calm her down, but she stormed out, drove off in her car barefoot, blood on her wrist, mascara streaked down her face. The next morning, her mom called him in hysterics. Hannah had posted a rant on Facebook, pages long, about betrayal and family snakes. She didn't name me, but everyone knew. Within hours, I started getting messages. My aunt, my mom, people from high school I hadn't talked to in years. Everyone had seen it. The worst part? She posted a picture of me and Mark from the barbecue. Nothing romantic. We were just laughing about something near the grill, but the caption was pure poison. Funny how the people you feed come back to eat you. I felt my stomach drop when I saw it. I didn't even have the energy to defend myself. I just turned off my phone and sat there shaking. Mark's been staying at a hotel since then. Says he's filing for separation. I don't even know how to feel about that. Guilt, relief, dread, they all blur together. And Hannah, she's been spiraling, posting quotes about loyalty and fake women. Last week, she showed up outside my apartment, banging on my door, sobbing and yelling that I ruined her life. I didn't answer. I just sat behind the couch, heart pounding, until she left. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I didn't plan for any of this. I didn't want to be that person. But now, she's telling people I stole her husband, like I'm some soap opera villain. The thing is, Mark and I still haven't even kissed, not once. But apparently, in her mind, I already destroyed everything. Maybe she's right. Maybe I did. Or maybe this is what happens when you spend your whole life being invisible, and the first time someone actually sees you, It feels like sunlight after years underground. Either way, something inside me has changed. I'm done hiding. If she wants a villain, fine. I can be that. Because I'm not done yet. Not even close. The first week after Hannah's meltdown felt like living in a fishbowl. Everyone staring, everyone whispering, but no one daring to ask directly. My phone would light up with messages from people I hadn't heard from in years. Old coworkers, distant cousins, each one pretending to check in, when really, they just wanted details. I didn't give them any. I didn't even post online, which apparently only made it worse. The silence made me look guilty in her version of the story, and Hannah took full advantage of that. She'd post selfies with puffy eyes and captions like, "You think you know people," or "Some wounds come from blood." She was spiraling hard, and I'll admit it, part of me pitied her. But pity doesn't erase cruelty, not when it's been marinating for a lifetime. Mark texted me once or twice during that time. Short things. Mark: "She's refusing to sign the separation papers." Me: "Are you safe?" Mark: "For now." He was staying at a friend's place while trying to figure out the legal mess. He said Hannah was showing up at his office crying, leaving voicemails that swung from begging to screaming. Her instability wasn't a secret anymore. She was unraveling in public. And that's when something in me clicked. I'd spent my whole life trying to stay small, polite, likable. I let her laugh at me, erase me, even rewrite me into a villain. But now, she'd finally shown everyone who she really was. I didn't have to fight her lies. I could let her expose herself. Still, I needed a plan. Something precise, quiet, the kind of revenge that doesn't look like revenge until it's too late. I started with small moves. I reached out to the photographer from her wedding, the one who'd taken all those pictures she never paid for because she claimed the lighting was off. I remembered overhearing her complain about him once. I asked if he still had the files. He did. I bought the rights to the outtakes, every unflattering, unfiltered, behind-the-scenes shot, and kept them saved on a drive. Then, I created a portfolio site for my freelance copywriting work. Clean, simple, professional. On the homepage, I included client testimonials. One was real. The second was a quote from Hannah Mitchell, lifestyle blogger, pulled directly from one of her old emails where she'd thanked me for editing her early posts back when she was just starting out. Her own words, used truthfully, but out of context they read like she'd endorsed me. Within a week, the site gained traction. I started getting messages from small businesses asking if I could do consulting. Word spread. Meanwhile, one of her sponsors, who'd apparently seen my name on her posts and assumed I was part of her content team, reached out to me directly for freelance work. I didn't correct them. By the end of that month, I'd signed a contract with one of her former brand partners, the same ones who'd recently stopped working with her after unprofessional behavior during a live event. It wasn't sabotage, not technically. It was just filling the space she'd left empty. Hannah, of course, noticed. She called me one night, sobbing and furious. "You think you can steal everything from me? My husband, my career, what's next, my name?" I didn't raise my voice. "You're the one who burned it down, Hannah. I just stopped standing in the ashes." She screamed something incoherent before hanging up. That was the last time we spoke directly. 2 days later, one of her ex-sponsors tagged me in a post, thanking me for my professionalism and creative integrity. And when I saw the comments under it, people praising my work, congratulating me, it hit me. This wasn't just revenge, it was rebirth. But she wasn't done yet. Because a week later, she found a new way to strike back, and this time she didn't come alone. It started with the notes. Folded paper slipped under my apartment door. The first one said, "You won't win." The second, "He'll see who you really are." No signature, but I didn't need one. Hannah had handwriting like a middle school yearbook, rounded letters, tiny hearts dotting the I's. I laughed the first time, then double-locked my door that night. By the third note, the laughter stopped. Mark told me she'd been calling him nonstop. Dozens of voicemails, alternating between sobbing apologies and threats to ruin that little tramp if he didn't come home. He said he was done. He'd even found a new apartment and was trying to finalize the separation, but Hannah wasn't letting go. "She's driving by my work," he said one night, voice shaking. "I think she followed me yesterday." I told him to document everything, call someone, do something. But part of him still felt guilty. That's the problem with people like Hannah. They make you believe their pain is your fault. The next week, things escalated. I came home from running errands to find my door slightly open. Not broken, just ajar. My stomach dropped. The air felt different, heavy. I stepped inside slowly. The place was a mess. My closet torn open, drawers yanked out, clothes dumped on the floor. My laptop was missing. My framed photos, especially the one of me and Mark at his wedding, were gone. I knew exactly who did it. I called the police, but there wasn't much they could do. No forced entry, no cameras in the hallway. The officer just took a report, told me to stay with a friend for a few nights. I didn't even have to call Mark. He showed up 20 minutes later looking pale and furious. "She's losing it," he said. I told her I was filing for divorce, and she started screaming that she'd destroy everything I loved. Then she grabbed my spare keys. He looked around the wrecked apartment, jaw tight. "I'll replace what she broke." I shook my head. "It's not about that." Because it wasn't. It was about her seeing me, really seeing me, for the first time in our lives, and hating what she saw. Mark stayed the night, sleeping on the couch. We didn't touch, didn't cross that line, but there was something raw between us. Grief and anger and exhaustion all tangled together. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of my phone buzzing. A text from an unknown number. Unknown. "You think this makes you special? You're just the next one." Attached was a photo of me standing in the grocery store parking lot from the day before, taken from a car. That was the moment the fear kicked in for real. Mark insisted we file a restraining order. I did, so did he. But we both knew that paper wouldn't stop her. Hannah didn't respect lines, she only saw challenges. A week later, I walked out to my car and found all 4 tires slashed, a puddle of glitter and wine on the hood like she'd celebrated after doing it. That same day, Hannah posted a story on Instagram, just white text on a black background. "Karma's got a way of finding home." I knew it was about me. I knew she was spiraling. But when Mark's office called me 3 nights later, panicked, saying he hadn't shown up for work and wasn't answering his phone, that's when I realized something had gone from bad to dangerous. I found him hours later, in his car, parked outside her old house, hands gripping the wheel, staring at nothing. "She begged me to come," he said, voice hollow. "Said she was going to hurt herself if I didn't." I didn't say anything. I just sat there beside him until the silence turned thick enough to choke on. When he finally spoke again, it was quiet. "She said she was going to tell everyone you destroyed her marriage, that you ruined me." I looked at him, my heart breaking a little. "Did I?" He shook his head. "No, she did." He turned the key, started the engine. "It's over now." But it wasn't. Because later that night, Hannah went live on social media, crying, rambling, holding up photos, calling me the other woman, calling Mark a liar. And within hours, everyone saw, everyone, including the man she'd just lost. Update 2. So, things got loud. The last time I posted, Hannah had just gone live, waving photos and crying about betrayal. That video went everywhere: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Even one of those messy gossip forums where people debate strangers' lives like it's reality TV. And yeah, my name was all over it. She didn't use my last name, but she didn't have to. She said my cousin Lily enough times that everyone in our family, our hometown, and apparently half the internet pieced it together within hours. At first, I thought it would destroy me. The messages came flooding in, people calling me a homewrecker, a snake, a family disgrace. Someone even left a note on my car that said, "Stay away from married men." I wanted to disappear. I almost deleted every account I had. But then, something strange happened. People started messaging her. Screenshots of Hannah's old posts, DMs she'd sent, the brand deals she'd faked, even unpaid invoices from small businesses she'd collaborated with. Apparently, I wasn't her first target, just the first one who pushed back. Her perfect little empire started crumbling, not because I fought her, but because everyone else finally saw her for who she really was. Then came the twist no one saw coming. Mark posted a statement. Just one paragraph, no tags, no drama. To clear up confusion, my marriage ended because of long-standing personal issues, not infidelity. Lily had nothing to do with it. Please respect everyone's privacy. It hit like a thunderclap. Within a day, people deleted their hate comments. Some even apologized. Hannah, though, she lost it. She posted a story saying Mark had been brainwashed and that I blackmailed him. Then she uploaded a 5-minute rant calling me a manipulative little witch. That one got taken down fast. Apparently, one of her sponsors reported it for defamation. But the damage was done. To her. 3 days later, her account vanished. Deleted. Gone. Word got around that she'd been dropped from her brand contracts, that her credit cards were maxed out, and that Mark's lawyer had officially filed for divorce. And me? I stayed quiet. Didn't gloat, didn't clap back. Just went back to work, one post at a time. Until this morning, someone sent me a link. It was an online article, local news covering the Hannah Mitchell meltdown. The picture they used? A still from her live stream. She's crying, mascara streaked down her face, hair wild. The headline read, "Influencer's breakdown goes viral, family betrayal, video backfires." Under it, one of the comments said, "She laughed at her cousin's wedding once. Guess karma RSVP'd." That one made me laugh for real, because maybe that's what this whole story was about from the start. Not love, not revenge, but finally being seen for who we actually are. Hannah was right about one thing, though. No one showed up when I got married, because I didn't invite them. But they sure as hell saw the pictures when Mark posted them. Him in a dark suit, standing beside me as my best man, smiling like he'd finally made peace with the wreckage we crawled out of. And Hannah? She watched. I know, because 2 minutes after the pictures went up, she viewed the story. No comment, no reaction, just silence. The kind that means you've finally lost the last word. The weirdest part about surviving a scandal is how quiet it gets afterward. For months, my phone was a war zone. Calls, messages, comments, people dissecting my life like it was an episode they could binge. Then one morning, it all just stopped. No one cared anymore. The internet always moves on. But I hadn't. Mark and I stayed close. Close in the way that happens when two people have been through something ugly together. We never officially dated. We didn't need to. Our connection was something quieter, deeper, like two survivors sitting in the same lifeboat, too tired to speak but unwilling to let go. He was there when I started therapy, when I moved to a new apartment, when I started saying no to things instead of apologizing for existing. I used to think revenge would feel like fireworks, explosive, victorious, but it didn't. It felt like walking away from a burning house. Warm, yes, but also heavy. I still remember the night I found out Hannah moved out of state. My aunt called to update me, though I think she mostly wanted gossip. Apparently, Hannah's living in some small coastal town now, working part-time at a boutique. She doesn't post anymore. For a second, I actually felt sad. Not because I missed her, but because I realized I'd spent most of my life trying to make her see me. And now she finally did. Just too late for either of us to come back from it. That same week, Mark and I met for coffee. It was the first time in months we'd seen each other in daylight. No secrecy, no fear of cameras. He looked different, calmer. "She called me last month," he said quietly. Apologized. Said she's getting help. I stared at my cup. "That's good," he nodded. "She asked about you." That made me pause. "What did you tell her?" He smiled. That same soft, steady smile that always made the world slow down. "That you finally look happy." We sat in silence for a bit after that. No awkwardness, no tension. Just two people finally breathing after holding it in for too long. When we stood to leave, he hugged me. Longer than friends usually do, but not enough to blur the lines we'd carefully redrawn. "I hope you find someone who sees you like you deserve," he said. I smiled back. "You already did that, Mark. That was enough." It wasn't some dramatic goodbye. We just went our separate ways. Later that night, I scrolled through my old photos, the ones she'd mocked, the ones I'd hidden because I didn't feel pretty or important enough. I deleted every one of her messages, every picture of us together. It didn't even hurt. And when I finally looked in the mirror, I realized something simple but terrifying. I wasn't angry anymore. That scared me more than anything. Because if I wasn't defined by her cruelty anymore, who was I? That's the thing about revenge. You think it's about getting even, but really, it's about letting go of who you had to be just to survive someone else's story. I slept peacefully that night for the first time in years. But peace doesn't mean closure, because the next morning, there was one final message waiting in my inbox. No name, no greeting, just 3 words. You were right. And somehow, I already knew who sent it. The message came from a new account. No profile picture, no followers. Just, you were right. I stared at it for a long time, half expecting more to follow. It never did. It wasn't an apology. Not really. It was smaller, but somehow heavier. Because you were right wasn't about the marriage or the lies. It was about everything. About who she was, who I was, and what we'd both turned into. I didn't reply. There was nothing left to say. A few weeks later, I was walking downtown when I saw her. Not in person, on a flyer taped to a boutique window. Local artist feature, Hannah Mitchell. There was a photo of her smiling softly beside a collection of hand-painted ceramics. Calm, barefaced, unrecognizable from the version of her who once screamed on camera. For a moment, I just stood there staring. No anger, no pity, just quiet acceptance. She'd found her way out of the storm too. Maybe not gracefully, but still. I went home that evening, poured myself a glass of wine, and scrolled through the photos from my wedding. The small one. The one she mocked me for years ago, saying no one would show up. She was right about that part. There weren't many people there. But the ones who mattered were. My sister, my 2 closest friends, and Mark, standing beside me in a charcoal suit, hand steady on my shoulder as he laughed through the vows. No awkwardness, no scandal, just peace. He gave a toast that night, short and simple, but it stayed with me. Sometimes the best people come into our lives at the wrong time, but they stay in the right way. And he was right. He didn't belong to me, and he never did. But he helped me see myself when no one else would. That was enough. After everyone left, I stood alone in the quiet backyard, the same way I did all those years ago at her wedding, and it hit me how far I'd come, how small her words sounded now in the echo of my own laughter. No one will show up if you ever get married. Maybe that used to hurt because I believed it. But standing there in my own white dress, surrounded by the few people who actually loved me, I realized something simple and freeing. It doesn't matter how many show up. It matters who stays. And the ones who stayed were the ones who saw me. Not for the version Hannah built, but for the woman I'd become after it all burned down. Later that night, I deleted her message, the last trace of her. Then I turned off my phone, stepped onto the balcony, and watched the city lights flicker like a heartbeat. For the first time in forever, I didn't feel invisible. I didn't feel like the side character in someone else's story. I just felt whole. And maybe that's what revenge really is, not ruining someone else's life, but finally reclaiming your own. So yeah, Hannah laughed once that no one would show up to my wedding. And she was right, because I didn't need them. They saw the pictures anyway, and the best man standing beside me in every one of them. He's smiling like he always knew this was where I'd end up.